This is 1,000 Ways to Market Your Business, brought to you by Pushing the Envelope. We're going to dive deep into all things marketing to help you reach your goals. Tune in and let's grow your business. Welcome to 1,000 Ways to Market Your Business, brought to you by Pushing the Envelope. I'm Samantha Scott, APR President and Owner, and today I'm joined by Trisha Mulis, our Digital Marketing Specialist.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you back. Rave reviews after the first one, so you got to come back again and share more knowledge.
Yes.
And so today we're talking about social media specifically. Last time you were here, we talked about the digital marketing toolkit as a whole, which is a lot of different topics.
Yes.
Today we're being super narrow and we're looking at just the social media elements.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to dig deep. So talking about the right platforms to choose, because it's not one size fits all. Not everybody needs to be on TikTok. Please.
Do not go on TikTok if you don't need it.
Please don't do that. And then also creating a strategy, because you've heard us talk about that ad nauseum and we're not going to stop. Strategy is super important when it comes to marketing. And then executing that creatively as well as effectively. And then of course evaluating that, because then we really know how things are performing.
Yep.
So take us through this, Trisha.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first thing to do is looking at what platform is right for your business. Not every, like we said, it's not one size fits all.
Yes.
Not every platform. You don't need to be on every platform. You have the big hitters. LinkedIn, that's business to business. So what are you hiring? Kind of looking at those goals, back to business goals.
Mm-hmm.
That's really business focused versus Instagram. That's really a younger audience. It's more authenticity. That's where you get the videos. Videos play a huge role. And that's where you can kind of just show your creative side. It's very visual.
Yes.
Facebook is kind of that in between.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook is almost a catch-all where you can have a little bit of fun on it, but you can also do kind of that business marketing as well.
Yeah.
But it's a place where your audience is at. That's kind of that middle age, I think, is where, Facebook kind of settles in.
Hey, I don't know how I feel about middle age. Thanks, Trisha.
And then you have TikTok, which is booming. And that's honestly, at this point, TikTok videos are everywhere, but it's really targeted to that younger Gen Z audience. And then you have Twitter, of course, which is very kind of like we talked about at our previous podcast. It's that microblogging. So you have to have a lot of content to saturate Twitter. So that's really one that is not right for everyone. If you have the content, great. But if not, don't join the channel just to have it.
Yeah.
And then you have YouTube. Again, that's just videos. So they have short form, so it's similar to TikTok. But you also have your longer form, the horizontal videos that, are great for how-tos and just kind of commercial styled, very nice videos. But again, aligning with those business goals, what are your videos going to be about?
Yeah. So that was a lot really fast, and we understand. And that's why we're going to go over this in detail, because social media is a really big tool in the digital marketing toolbox, and it's changing all the time.
Absolutely.
The beautiful part is that consistently across all of those channels that Trisha just mentioned is there's measurement. So you can determine what your audience is interested in, what they're engaging with, what they like, what they don't like, and you can also learn from others. So that's a really powerful tool. And I'd also keep in mind mindset. So when you talked about LinkedIn is for business, so maybe it is for networking or something like that. But that's also where if somebody's on that channel, they're thinking business. Mm-hmm. You can post about business on Facebook, for example, but people use that largely for social purposes, personal purposes, so they might not be in that mindset. So keeping that in mind.
Absolutely.
And you touched on the demographics. Who's using what channel. So Instagram versus TikTok versus LinkedIn. And the world uses YouTube. It's the second largest search engine in the world. So even if you don't like being on camera, unfortunately, you're going to have to find a way to integrate video into your plan because it's not going anywhere. But being mindful of that and where your audience is and what they're interested in.
Absolutely. And I think a big piece of that, too, is knowing how much content you have. If you don't have the amount, the quantity to put on a channel, don't be on it. If you don't, TikTok.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of video for TikTok.
Yeah.
And it kind of aligns with the brand goals. If you don't have that, don't force yourself to be on it because you're really not going to get that relevancy on there.
Right. And quality too,
Yes.
So you talk about, does it align with your brand? So for example, we're a professional service firm. We serve as a marketing partner and a fractional CMO for our clients. We don't belong on TikTok. That's not where our audience is. That's not what we're looking for. So we're not going to be on that channel. But maybe if you have a restaurant or a bar or something like that, that could be a really great place for you.
Absolutely. And it's kind of, determining how much time you want to set aside to put effort into those channels.
Yeah, because you want it to be great, because you want
Absolutely.
it first to align with your brand, but then also make sure that it's quality content. Yeah, that's just really incredibly important.
Yeah, and I think our biggest thing is quality over quantity.
And you can start small.
Yes,
you could start with
absolutely.
one channel and then get your groove and start seeing what's going on with your audience and add another one if it's appropriate. You don't have to do all of them from day one.
Exactly. And it's, I think that's where a lot of people, they dive right in, and that's kind of where you get those channels that kind of get left behind.
Yeah.
Versus, like, to your point, kind of start small, get consistent, get really good at it, and then start thinking about either adding the quantity of content or extra channels.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some stats you might want to consider. Over 90% of B2B marketing happens on LinkedIn. So think about that. If you're business to business marketing, B2B, LinkedIn is largely the place for you. Sure, you can do it on other channels, but again, it's a mindset situation of, if I'm on LinkedIn, I'm thinking about business. I think you could also carry that over a bit to YouTube, although it is largely filled with other types of content too. And 4 out of 5 LinkedIn users drive business decisions. So thinking about that as well. So these are the ultimate people that you want to take action. Again, if you are in B2B, because we're kind of focused on that part right now. And Twitter is the second best B2B social media tool behind LinkedIn. So if you're a B2B, like we are, and a professional service firm, those are channels that you should consider using. If you're B2C, business to consumer, there are a lot of other tools that you can be using as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, for those consumer-driven businesses, looking at Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Those are really just the creativity. You can have fun with them. That's where the social aspect of social media comes in.
Yeah, if somebody's looking for to make a personal purchase, they're more likely to do that as a result of seeing something on one of those 3 channels than on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's huge. I mean, audience-wise as well, those have really strong audiences. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah. So Facebook, I've got some stats here. Over 179 million USA users. So that's 30 minutes a day spent on Facebook is kind of the average. And I can guarantee most people are a little over it.
Yeah.
A little over that.
And I think it's great you pointed out USA users, right? Because years ago, Instagram, the largest population, were actually out of the US.
Yeah.
And so people don't think about that. They're like, oh, Instagram's really popular. Yes, it's popular here, but it's also way more popular outside of the US. So are you able to ship internationally? Is that the audience you're looking for, et cetera? But I'm jumping the gun. So
yeah, and I've, kind of on the same vein of YouTube, they have 240 million USA users. So that's huge. And they actually have 45 minutes a day spent on YouTube.
It's incredible.
Which to me, I'm not a big YouTube user, so that just fascinates me. But I know a lot of people that are, and it's a really valuable tool.
And I think that a rise of YouTube TV and things like that, that's just going to become more and more popular.
Yeah. And they've added the shorts, so similar to TikTok, so you have that short form versus the long form. So you can really get anything you want on YouTube right now. And then Instagram, over 159 million users. And again, 30 minutes a day. And like I said, I know a lot of people that spend a little more than that. Some people less, some people more. It's really easy to sit there and scroll. You think it's been 5 minutes and it's an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all things marketing, we absolutely do not encourage a spray and pray method. We've talked about how strategy is so important. You can't just put it out there and expect people to naturally connect with it or pick it up, or that everything you do is going to work. So it's really, really important to have a plan, both organically, aka free, it's just your time investment, as well as paid.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, with paid ads, so you can do that on essentially any platform. I think the biggest one is kind of Facebook, and then of course YouTube now, if you have that video content.
Well, and Facebook and Instagram you can do together.
Yes. Yeah, so Meta owns both of those. So you really see, and I'm sure people see the reels on Facebook and Instagram, and that's, kind of the reason behind that is it's all essentially the same.
Right.
Just, again, finding your audience and which platform they're on.
And I would also just add that caveat that even though you can automatically publish to Facebook and Instagram at the same time, you can automatically run an ad on Facebook and Instagram at the same time, that does not mean that you should do that.
No.
Facebook and Instagram, as we've already discussed, are not the same animals. They're not the same channels. No. They have different demographics. What people consume on them is different. I have a Facebook and an Instagram, for example, but that doesn't mean that what I look at on one is the same as what I look at on the other.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind. The easy way is not always the right way. Just want to insert that.
And I think it's, important to know your audience. They might be on all of the channels, even if that's your target audience. So you might not only catch them on Instagram, you might get them on all, but that doesn't mean your verbiage and the way you phrase things needs to be the same.
Absolutely.
Meet them where they're at when they're in that mindset, kind of like LinkedIn. It's very business focused versus Instagram. So, kind of catching them with what's where their mind's at when they're on that channel.
What's most appropriate by channel.
Absolutely.
Because what I might post on my business's Facebook page might be about happy hour or something fun that we did as a group. I'm probably not going to publish that on LinkedIn. It's just not an appropriate platform for that.
Right.
So keeping in mind the etiquette, so to speak, of those channels as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big thing is, we have paid ads, but it's, you can do a lot with very little.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're finding that target audience as long as you set it up right, and you have LinkedIn ads as well. So if you have very business focused, services or, what have you, you're really going to find those people on LinkedIn versus Facebook.
Yeah, and you can do those as like quote unquote traditional digital ads where it shows up in someone's newsfeed, but you can also use InMail or other paid tools where it's not so public, it's more one-on-one.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you have business to consumer, you're really looking at Facebook. That's where people are going to kind of, like you said, make those personal purchases or those decisions. So they're going to find that on Facebook.
Right.
And I think, we've already touched on this a little bit of the quality over quantity. So you don't have to post 5, 6, 7 times a week. That's kind of overkill. It's your audience doesn't need to see you every single day of the week because after a while they're gonna scroll right past you.
Yep.
So it's really kind of balancing staying relevant and also the strategy behind it. If you don't have quality content to put out,
right,
don't put it out 5 times a week.
And your audience will tell you everything you need to know if you know where to look.
Exactly.
So thankfully, as I mentioned, all of these channels have measurement tools. So you can see how these things are performing individually, but you can also see across the board. And so you could look at your Facebook profile, for example, and if you're publishing 5 times a week, but you're seeing your engagement drop, well, then maybe reduce that. Yep. But only make one change at a time. We've talked about that in other episodes of make sure you A/B test. So you're not changing 3 things at once and then seeing a result. You won't know what caused that change. So we want to make sure that we're only changing one thing at a time. So maybe you reduce the number of posts and see how that works. Maybe you change the type of content you're posting. But your audience will tell you everything. And on YouTube, you can see people drop out on videos. There's tons of stats available to you. So pay attention to what your audience is telling you.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are all things that are built into those platforms. So you don't have to have any, fancy other platform for it. You can go directly into Facebook, directly into YouTube, and really find that. And I think the important thing is you might have a post that just does not perform well, but look at it over time too. Is it something you're doing over time, or did one post perform bad? So kind of just using that to tailor your content that you're putting out to find what your audience is really interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. And planning ahead as well, I think, and using your customer feedback. So if that's reviews or comments, if you're seeing a lot of engagement around a topic, if you can host conversation on those channels, even better.
Yeah.
Because you'd love to be the platform for that, and that gives you great insight for R&D or research development into what your audience is really looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of social media is it's a two-way communication.
Yes.
Your audience can engage back with you. You can have those comments. They message you. It's really, like I said, they tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Whether it's through comments, engagements, whatever it might be, you're going to get the information you need.
Yeah, just make sure you look and don't let your ego get in the way. I think that happens sometimes because business will be upset if somebody has a negative review or they have a different opinion or what have you. Don't be tempted to block all comments. Make sure you're responding to those, even if they're not negative or even if they're not positive, because then that shows that you're engaging, you're hearing your audience, and others seeing that will take that into consideration. That's really, really important, especially if you're in a service industry like a restaurant or something like that. Making sure that those who might be considering going to your establishment see that and realize that you're engaging, you're using the two-way component. And thanks Trisha for your feedback. We'll try to do better next time. So on and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the important thing too is, all these social media channels, the different audiences, hold your brand voice, but also kind of meet them where they're at. Know the platform you're on. You can have a little bit of fun while still being serious if that's kind of your brand voice, Right. But if you're a brand that's super fun, play into that because people love to see that on social.
Absolutely. And if you haven't checked out the TSA account, I would definitely recommend. They're great. So it's a government institution, but they have some pretty great quality content because they're just leaning into it. So yes, a lot of rules, but also some fun there too.
Exactly.
So once you have a strategy, implementation is relatively easy, but the real fruit comes from the evaluation. We've talked about that, determining the ROI, return on investment. We want to make sure that we can determine the success. What is the actual outcome of this? So we've talked about the different channels from Facebook to TikTok and everything in between, and there's going to be another one tomorrow, I'm sure.
Exactly.
And the different kind of etiquette, so to speak, on each channel, but it really comes down to what are they doing for you, right? Because if you're spending time, or you're a staff person, or even your firm, if you've hired someone, they're spending time on it, ultimately you want to know what you're getting for that. So this goes back to goals. Are you trying to just generate awareness? Are you trying to generate sales? bookings, what is it that you're trying to accomplish, and then tracking this against it. If you're only measuring the marketing that you're doing, and we'll use digital because that's what we're talking about now. So if you're just measuring Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc. on its own, that's in a vacuum. So you're just measuring the efforts you're putting in. You're not actually measuring the outcomes. And as a business owner, that's what I care about. I want to know what's happening with the bottom line. If I'm spending time on this, if I'm putting money into this, what am I getting on the back end? So making sure we're evaluating is absolutely critical.
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of like you said, taking those metrics from those platforms and comparing it with what you see on your side, is your ROI, is it good? Are you getting good ROI on that?
Are we getting people to go to the website? Are we getting them to sign up for the dinner we have planned or the event? Or are they buying the product that we're selling? What's happening as a result of these efforts?
And I think an important thing too is if one effort that you thought would perform great just kind of tanked and you didn't get that return on it, don't panic.
Right. Use that information.
Exactly. Use it and just either refine it or just avoid it the next time. Kind of find where your audience is, what they're interested in. You might have a great idea, and if it tanks, it tanks.
Yeah.
Just learn from it and, just adjust your strategy accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. So it all comes down to watching. And that's a beautiful part of social is that you can watch all along the way. So if you have a campaign running for a month and you get a weekend and realize, man, this is crushing it, well, then you can put some more into it. Or if you get a weekend and realize, this isn't really working the way that we thought, well, evaluate, is it a video issue? Is it a content issue? Is it a timing issue? What's happening? And make an adjustment. You don't have to wait until the end of the campaign. So evaluation doesn't mean waiting until the end. It means looking at all along the way and making actionable insights and changes as a result.
Exactly. Yeah, evaluating that's crucial.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That's a lot of information, and we've only just barely scraped the top of that iceberg of social media, but I really appreciate Trisha.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
So at this point in the podcast, we always go to a question, and so this question is, when is the best time and day to post on social media?
Kind of a loaded question.
I know, and I want to answer it for you, but go.
When it all comes back to it's not one size fits all. Every business can't post on Tuesday at 2 p.m. So, it's looking at where your audience is at. When is your audience on that platform?
That's the key, on that platform, because it might be a different answer depending on the channel.
Exactly, and that's kind of going back to don't post the same thing on Facebook and Instagram just to post it, just because you can. Post it, look at the times, look at the verbiage, see what they're responding to. On LinkedIn. Most business, it's business, so it's probably going to be during business hours.
Yeah,
versus Facebook and Instagram, that's likely going to be, after work. You're kind of you're going to take a brain break, if that's what you want to call it, and scroll. That's when people are going to be on those platforms.
Yeah, LinkedIn first thing in the morning, early before people are checking their inboxes. That's a great time.
Like typically around lunchtime too. I've noticed, kind of people taking that break and they're going to scroll for a little bit.
And don't worry if it's a weird time. Like for example, we worked with a nonprofit years ago, and they had a bunch of volunteers, and they were most active between 7 and 9 p.m. Well, of course, you don't want to be on posting at 7 to 9 p.m. You're doing your own thing. You can schedule. So still take advantage of the information your audience is giving you and give them what they want when they want it, and use the tools available to you for scheduling.
Absolutely. I was saying that's the beautiful thing about the tools now is they're all kind of, they understand that. They have post planners already built in.
Free.
Yes, free. So it makes it easier for you too, to kind of, it might not be the most seamless, kind of thing to do, but they have those tools available to really help you out to find when your audience is on there and, kind of help you meet them.
So we hope this has been helpful for you and given you some tools to really understand the social media universe, so to speak, and to use it for your advantage. And we wish you all the best. In the meantime, keep pushing.